DeSanto Propane is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy, family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more info or call toll-free at 1-800-752-4574 today. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into Bills Weekly here on FingerLakes1.com. Paul Russo, Jim Senacropi, Kyle Evans here with you. The initial lead up until about a half hour ago was we're just going to be sitting here kind of discussing the season end here for the Bills. And instead, we're going to be sitting here leading off the podcast today with the news that Sean McDermott has been fired as head coach of the Buffalo Bills. So we're going to be diving right into that, then get to the game and kind of go into our off-season plans here for the podcast. So we got a lot to get to here in pretty short order. So we'll jump into some stuff here quickly, handle some housekeeping, and get into it by first thanking a couple of our sponsors, including Nolan's Catering, planning a special event. Let Nolan's Catering help you curate your next occasion. Now booking special events at the Hotel Canandaigua Tapestry Collection by Hilton on Lakeshore Drive, the Fallbrook House at Canandaigua Country Club, or Nolan's on South Main Street in Canandaigua. Nolan's is ready to curate a food and beverage package perfect for any occasion. From elegant weddings to corporate events and private parties, enjoy the moment, knowing Nolan's has it covered. To plan your perfect event, visit nolansonthelake.com. And Seneca Falls Country Club. Since 1925, Seneca Falls Country Club has been one of the premier golf destinations in the Finger Lakes region. Their meticulously groomed 18-hole championship golf course overlooking Cayuga Lake is the perfect combination of playability, beauty, and challenge. Book your tee time online at SenecafallsCountryClub.com. Be sure to check out their amazing weekend afternoon open golf specials when we get to not cold and winter.
You don't want to book your tee time this week.
I recommend not. That's for sure. So,
although I did play golf on Sunday morning.
Oh, look at you go! I knew in the back of my mind, as long as it stayed clear. So yeah, let's jump right into this here. About half hour plus so ago now. At this point, news broke that Sean McDermott fired from the head coaching position of the Buffalo Bills. He would have been going into year 10 had he made it to the start of this upcoming season. Led the Bills to 8 playoff appearances in 9 seasons. I know off air we were kind of discussing arguably led the best moments of the Bills in roughly 25 to 30 years. And it's interesting. I want to start here I'm going to go with me first here today. Because I thought, following the win last week, kind of no matter what happened Saturday, that I kind of thought McDermott and Bean bought themselves another year in a way. Clearly, especially on the McDermott side, not the case. We'll jump into the Bean stuff here as well towards the tail end of this, as Brandon Bean is expected to be retained as GM. But initial kind of thoughts here, guys, because Look, the initial reaction across the board here is it caught everybody off guard, and that certainly, I think, is the case around here for Bills Mafia and us and everybody else.
Well, there's so much to talk about today just in that game. It wasn't going to be an uplifting episode. Very disappointing. I mean, extremely disappointing. But now McDermott's fired, so we're going to talk about that. I mean, they're kind of combined. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth. McDermott was well-liked by the team, coach. He took a roster this year that probably wasn't one of the best that the Bills have had during his stretch. And if Brandon Cooks, if they call that a catch, Sean McDermott's coaching still. And to me, that if that's how you're going to make your decision on whether you hire or fire him over one, a bad call, because honestly, McDermott's not getting fired if they call that a Brandon Bean catch or a Brandon Cooks catch and a field goal to win the game, and they move on and then even lose next week. McDermott's not getting fired. So it's fickle, and you better be careful what you're doing, especially when you're the Bills in a franchise that's been historically, pathetic in the scheme of the entire NFL, and you got a guy now that's well liked by his team and has brought you to the brink a couple of times, and when you do get there, don't you want to be with that guy? Don't you want that guy to be the one to do it? So I think it's a bullshit move by the Bills. If you're going to fire somebody, maybe fire Brandon Beane, who built the roster that Sean McDermott has consistently overachieved with. I mean, that's my opinion. Kyle, I was thinking about you when the Bills lost. You're more of a diehard fan than any of us, and it's just a brutal way to go out. And now it seems like the franchise is just kind of like in disarray now. If you're going to fire McDermott.
Yeah, I was definitely stunned by the news. McDermott definitely changed the culture, changed the way Buffalo, just felt about their team. On top of all the stuff you mentioned, he was the second winningest coach over his tenure in the whole NFL.
Yeah.
Remember the stat I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago? They're one of only 4 teams all time to win at least one playoff game in 6 straight years. They made the AFC Championship twice, both losing to Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was stunning because like who out there is really different than him or are going to be better than him now that I mean, people could say John Harbaugh, but he's already hired.
Looks
So
like
now
it,
what?
yeah. And even so, McDermott beat Harbaugh head to head this year. I mean, and the one word you used that I didn't was culture. Like if you watch Hard Knocks at the beginning of the season with the Bills, and you see any of the post games or talk to any of the players, McDermott had certainly built a culture of positivity and success in Buffalo, where before he came, that just wasn't the case. And you can say, well, if anybody could have done that with Josh Allen, but I just think the culture is a big part too. Like the Bills were a good team. The players like to play there. I'm kind of sick over it, honestly, because what are you going to get next? Who are you going to get?
We already have players tweeting about the news.
That probably
Jordan Phillips, the quote, "This shit here is so stupid, honestly sickening. The best coach I've ever been around." That's how the locker room feels seriously
right.
about Sean McDermott.
Yeah, including Josh Allen, your franchise guy. Was he consulted before this? Or did It's a type of move that can take all the success the Bills have had and just totally sabotage it and put it into reverse.
And think about the momentum, and that's some of that. The early stuff I've seen over on Twitter, Blue Sky, you name it. You're going into a new stadium next year. The fans have never been, frankly, probably more, we'll call it active as it stands right now in terms of everything. And I don't know, you throw this roadblock of sorts in there. Look, I don't know. It's tough for me because I think for the people who have been watching and listening to this podcast through its whole duration now of 3+ years, I've been the one who's probably been the most critical of McDermott overall out of all of us. Do I have a problem necessarily with the firing? Not in the grand scheme of it for the way I prefer having whatever. That being said, I don't know how you fire McDermott but not fire Beane when, to me, the bulk of the issues this year go back to Beane. And we're going to be jumping into some of the stuff because it involved some of the stuff involved why they're not playing anymore. It's because of the roster construction, but we talked all year about the wide receiver room. One of the main things that popped up with the game on Saturday was the secondary lack of depth ended up popping up again. It's one of those things where it's just like, I don't know how you can do one but not the other, and that's the baffling part to me here.
To me, it's Beane more than McDermott that's to blame. And when before we found out the news this morning that McDermott was fired, I was just thinking about what we're going to talk about here. And one thing that I was trying to, I didn't want Sean McDermott fired, obviously, as you can tell, but I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, okay, so let's look at the coaches that are left. Sean McVay, would you rather have Sean McVay or McDermott? Mike Vrabel, Sean Payton. I mean, great coaches, right? So I was just kind of weighing, Sean McDermott against these guys and wondering if, that maybe played a role in the Bills losing, if the Bills had a more like elite coach maybe. But if you look at what happened on the field, that's just not the case. And it comes back to something we've been talking about all year and a lot over the past few years is like the roster. Worst receiving room in football. So you want to win a Super Bowl, Brandon Bean, and you know you have a team that can do it. And you enter this season with those wide receivers to the point where our number one guy now is Brandon Cooks, who joined the team a couple weeks ago. I mean, and then you look at New England, and this is the thing that's like almost hard to fathom for Bills fans, is that they're going to be watching the Patriots probably go to the Super Bowl again next week. And look at their receivers. How many of those guys were guys that the Bills could have got? I mean, it's especially Stephon Diggs is one of them. But it's I can't believe that, that it would come down on McDermott and Brandon Bean's just going to go on with his life, as the GM of the Bills.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm baffled. I've got a lot of stuff I'm trying to juggle over here with stuff coming in. So
you agree, Kyle, that like if you had to would you keep Brandon Bean?
No, I think they got the wrong guy. I would have went Brandon Bean first. You mentioned receivers. I want to also mention the defensive line. They tried getting Von Miller a few years ago to get a guy that can get to the quarterback in the playoffs. Didn't work out. They got Joey Bosa on a 1-year deal. Worked out in the regular season. Last 9 games, he has 1 sack.
Yeah, and he never was.
Couldn't see him out there in Denver. I mean, we seen him like once in one kind of play, and then all the other ones he's missing tackles. I mean, Joey Bosa was just not there when the Bills needed him. They gave him $13 million. He finally stayed healthy for a year. That was a gamble in itself. Then we can also point to the contracts Bean has given out to the receivers. The Curtis Samuel one is mind-blowing. Yeah. I believe it was 3 years, like $21 million or something. Joshua Palmer, I mean, was that guy like ever on the field? They gave him what? I can't even remember, $36 million. Some of the other names from last year, they brought in Chase Claypool, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They brought in Elijah Moore. I mean, Tyrell Shavers did make the team, but he's not even like, it's Tyrell Shavers. Yeah, so just some bad moves. Even the drafts we can talk about with Brandon Bean.
Sure, started first and foremost, Keon Coleman.
Yeah, remember that? He traded back, gave the Chiefs Xavier Worthy. They could have picked Lad McConkey, didn't. A few years ago, they picked Dalton Kincaid, but they could have picked Jackson Smith and Jigba, Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison. They were all within the 5 picks. Kincaid can't stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think I pretty much just hit on all the points, at least for the last few years, that Brandon Bean has not done a good job with.
And then you can contrast that by, like, what are some of the coaching decisions you've seen Sean McDermott make that have kept them from getting to the next level, which, to be honest with you, is like rare air. There's going to be 2 teams playing in the Super Bowl every year and 1 team winning it. And the Bills have been right there every year. Exciting regular season, into the postseason, some really tough losses, some good wins, but some like this was a heartbreaking loss. The Bills had it. That we can talk about the refs and the way that game went down here before we get out of here. But
their toughness all year.
Right.
How many times did they trail at halftime, and how many times did they come back and look like they were for dead and they win a game? And, Josh Allen, of course, is a big part of that, but he doesn't lose the locker room. He has his guys ready to go, especially after halftime. So, yeah, I'm just
same thing with the defense. You're going to your 4th-string linebacker several times, and, they don't seem to miss a beat. Defensively, especially under McDermott, we talk about Joe Brady's play calling and we talk about all these things, but if we really aren't rarely criticizing McDermott directly, unless there's some occasional play calls, it's situational and clock management, but those aren't reasons why the Bills' season is over right now.
The main McDermott criticism I feel like that we've talked about haven't happened in this calendar football year, right? It's been more stuff in the past couple. This year it's been, as we've been saying, it's been more of a Brandon Bean criticism than anything else.
Brady, offensive coordinator.
Yeah. So it's interesting, the Joe Brady stuff. Let's kind of jump in here quick before we do get to the game and everything like that. Names already kind of emerging here for the job are actually Joe Brady, Brian Dable.
Come on.
Another name that's popped. I know.
You know how stupid that is? You know how unbelievably stupid it is that Brian Daboll's name would be brought up? And you're going to get rid of McDermott and bring in Brian Daboll? Has anybody been watching the NFL in the past few years? Who's the other guy you said?
Joe Brady.
Yeah, oh yeah, that would be awesome. Let's upgrade Brady. I'm sure it's hard to freaking believe.
Yeah,
it really is.
I don't know, Kyle. You proposed an interesting thing off air. Me and you.
Mike Tomlin.
No, well, I jokingly said that to somebody already.
I'm not joking.
Really?
Yeah, bring in Tom if you like. Bring in Tomlin.
Okay. But Kyle brought up a good idea here, possibility. It's a rarity, but trade for a head coach.
Trade?
Yeah.
I saw someone mention this.
For who?
1 year left on his deal, Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
Because someone brought up a good point. You either bring in a coach who has already won a Super Bowl, has that experience, or you bring in a young, offensive-minded coach. And, of course, people are mentioning Bill Belichick. And guess who that was? Rex Ryan.
Yeah. No,
We've seen Clint, what's his name? Clint Kubiak?
Kubiak.
Yep, as a name. Basically what I'm seeing is a lot of names that don't seem like you're really taking a step forward. It seems like you're almost going backwards. That's why this move, again, is, in my opinion, stupid.
And you risk just totally blowing everything up that they've built up to. Is the guy going to get along with Allen, whoever it is? Is the defense going to take a step back if you get an offensive-minded coach? Where the Bills need to go from here is such a small step to get to where they need to be. But there's a lot of room to drop down. There's a lot of room to fall off. And, we'll see. It's a lot of times fan bases get spoiled by the success that the Bills have had. Every single year you get to get excited that the Bills got a great team. You get to go through the regular season getting excited for every Sunday, knowing that the games count and matter. And then, they play deep into January every year for the past 8 years. So there's a lot more room to fall than there is to, take that last step or two. And again, if they're going to take the next step or two, would have felt a lot better if it was with the guy who got you there in the first place, McDermott.
Yeah.
Just for the record, too, the Brian Daboll name is out there for two reasons. You know why. We talked about it off air.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen loves Brian Daboll. But then the other one, it's funny because does it really matter?
Right.
Buffalo native.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
Yeah, I think the Bills should go in that offensive-minded direction. I don't think Dable or Joe Brady should be your 1 and 2 or however you want to view it option. I'd much rather, if you're going to do that route, you go Clint Kubiak, who look what he's done in Seattle this year. I something like that where.
You talk about going offense. They had the leading rusher in the NFL.
Yeah.
This year. And what were they supposed to do offensively with the passing game with these guys? I mean, because Khalil Shakir had put up numbers like you'd expect him to put up, but what else could they possibly do with what they had?
Right, but I view it from this perspective. The best player on the team is Josh Allen, quarterback on offense. This isn't like, say, like you bring in Mike Tomlin with that emphasis on defense. I think it'd be a lot of maintaining, and not that there's anything wrong with that. I think this hire, though, needs to be, you can amplify your best assets at that point, not try and bring up the back end of not that asset.
But like I said, be careful what you wish for, because now all of a sudden you got this defense that's been, let's face it, the Bills got where they were this year more for their defense than their offense. And if you look at the personnel that the Bills had on defense, not as good as, like, probably average compared to the rest of the league. And so you bring in an offensive coach, and now all of a sudden the defense, just the bottom seems like it could fall out. It's amazing to me that the Bills have done what they have done defensively with the personnel that they have and the injuries. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It almost feels bad that we're going to sit here and talk about who's going to replace McDermott within an hour of him getting fired. Like, I feel like, and I'm not a Bills fan. Like, I'm a Bills fan to the point that they're our local team, and when they're winning, things are exciting around here, in upstate New York, and I root for them, obviously, but it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. Like, it doesn't feel like the right thing.
Yeah,
It feels like it's ruining a lot of things.
yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly understand and agree to that perspective to a degree. So, yeah, just a couple things here. Just checking out the chat here on the YouTube side of things. Crowman, I'm assuming that's your name. I agree. If you're going to do this, this year, this is not the year to do this. This was a pretty weak, in the grand scheme of it, weak head coaching market. I don't know if you could hold out for another year, or if you just were a year too late in doing that.
Could you hold out for like a few more days at least? Does it have to be like Monday on a federal holiday, Martin Luther King Day, 2 days after they just had their freaking heart ripped out by the referees late in that game?
Yeah.
Well, they probably don't want Joe Brady to take a job elsewhere. Maybe that's their guy. They really want Joe Brady, which, again, I wouldn't like the move. I think it would be terrible, a step backward. But maybe that's how they're thinking. If they don't do it soon enough, either him or another guy that they might be targeting might get a job elsewhere, and they'll be too late.
Well, see you later, Joe Brady. Who cares about Joe Brady?
I mean,
like what has this team done on offense this year?
And frankly, to me, you want to talk about the offensive side here too. To go back to kind of something I brought up, I think the best head coach on the market involving offense too has already been. It's off the market. I would have gone, if you're going to do this move. I don't know why. I don't know. Stefanski to me would have been a slam dunk hire, but I don't know in that sense.
I don't know. Like I said, it feels shitty.
Yeah.
This whole thing feels ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the other thing, if you're Josh Allen this morning, and Josh Allen loved McDermott, right? They got a great relationship. They both buy into each other's plans, I guess. But if you're McDermott or if you're Allen this morning, you got to feel like it's just your fault that he got fired. I mean, the way he played in that game, and I'm not coming down on him. Everybody expects him to be Superman, Josh Allen's got to do all these crazy things. They got to build a better roster around him, and when it came down to it, he made some horrible mistakes in that game, and that is why they lost the game, in my opinion. There's the end of the first half, that was the difference. Mm-hmm. Like if you have all this playoff experience and NFL experience, and you're an MVP caliber player and you're a quarterback, how the hell can you turn that ball over in that situation? Like, fumble it, run out there with it running loose. If that was a rookie quarterback, or everybody would have, but it was Josh Allen. Like, gave him 3 points at the end of the half. They end up going to overtime. So if you're Josh Allen this morning, you're probably calling up Sean McDermott with tears in your eyes and saying, I'm sorry, that you lost your job because of how poorly I played, because, I missed Dawson Knox in a potential game-winning touchdown pass. So, and it's not that he didn't do a lot of good things that game, like he always does, but I thought it was his worst game in a while.
Definitely worst statistically ever in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, for sure.
He has some of the greatest NFL playoff numbers you'll ever see, and we mentioned it last year after the Jacksonville win. But yeah, this game he was just bad. It was only his second. Get this, it was only a second multi-turnover game in the playoffs of his career.
And there's been a lot of playoff games.
Keep in mind too, it's not like it was a bad team, a bad defense. It was a top 5 ranked defense on the road. And the lack of weapons.
On short rest for the Bills and off a bye for the Broncos.
And I think the lack of weapons is what made some of the stupid plays He did. I think in his mind, he knew they were down 7 at the point, and they had 16 seconds. He wanted to make something happen.
Yep.
He also knew they were getting the ball after halftime, and he just did something stupid. And, of course, in the moment, you're not thinking, and
It almost looked like he was trying to lateral it,
yeah.
which is really kind of weird. But yeah,
That's
no,
why he didn't really look like he did last year as much. I mean, he was still really good, but not like crazy MVP like at times, because the lack of weapons, I think, just made him do stupid things, and the turnovers just got out of hand.
yeah, I can agree with that. Where he feels like
He's got to do
he's
something.
got to do it.
He's got to get the ball downfield.
Yep. No matter somewhat doing crazy things, it just didn't work out yesterday. Obviously,
Get him help and let him relax like he did during his MVP season. It's all
Especially-
on Brandon Bean.
especially as he gets older, you're not gonna like watching him the past month just get totally throttled all game long. Like there was probably 5 or 6 different times where you thought he was injured and was gonna like be out for a while. Like he could barely walk off the field, and always came back. That's gonna take a toll on a guy who relies so much on his legs. Like I think that as far as his career goes, he maybe has 2 or 3 more years of this type of Josh Allen before he's going to have to change his approach. So, yeah, it's I don't know. It's was really disappointing. It was really a rough way to kick off the weekend, being the first of the 4 games. Kind of put a damp. I mean, for me personally, I watched Syracuse lose in overtime to Boston College on the road, which was absolutely disgusting, and then immediately watched the Bills lose in overtime.
I'll top that. I watched the Sabres first lose in overtime, then Syracuse, then the Bills.
It's kind of crazy.
And if you want to add in another local basketball team, even
Buffalo Bulls,
Buffalo lost in
the
overtime.
college team.
Yeah, not
Kind of weird.
Not a great weekend in Western New York for that deal. Yeah, I look, and I get it. I see the chat and everything, and Vincent. Look, I don't disagree with the ref thing, and we can talk about that a little bit. But like I'm with these guys, and I said it initially in the moment. Like, yeah, you can blame the refs for crappy calls. I'm not going to sit here and act as if that didn't have an outcome on the game, because clearly it did in the sense of whatever. But at the end of the day, like the first half just sticks out to me like a sore thumb in that sense. Like, it's just, you gave Denver 3 free points, and at the end of the day, it's the stuff like that to me that actually makes a difference in the end. Because
Did you guys think in the second half, once we got like into the third quarter, that the Bills, there's no way the Bills are going to lose this game? Because I did. I thought, like, after they came back, it seemed like they had control. Even into overtime, it just felt like they were going to pull it off. It was the same thing we talked about before this, or at least I did. I said, if the Bills can get to that fourth quarter in a 1-score game, then how can you not feel good about them winning? And then, maybe we talk about the officiating?
Yeah.
Like, you never like to say, because I can find plays in that game that went both ways.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest plays, the ones that actually won it for Denver, were all at the end. And it's hard to argue that Brandon Cooks didn't get interfered with and the touchdown to the right side of the end zone, or the pass that he was grabbed and couldn't make the play. And then you watch the ones they called on Denver. Like, they're all pass interference calls, I think. Like, but are you going to let them play in this situation, or are you going to let it come down to pass? Pass interference calls are the worst, because now, like, they just gave Denver's whole drive was pass interference calls on the final drive of overtime.
On that final drive, they had a 2nd and 12 and a 2nd and 10, and both times they were bailed out by a penalty.
And you could say, yeah, maybe they were pass interference, but how could you say that the one previously for Cooks was not?
You got to call both then. If you're
Right, you got to call both, or you got to call neither. And then let's talk about the call that everybody's talking about. You'll never be able to, and I've read articles about, how they went through the rule book, and because he didn't control it to the ground, that the guy could take it because it was not incomplete yet. I mean, we all saw it with our eyes. Brandon Cooks caught the ball, went to the ground with it, knee down, and then
rolled onto his back,
and then the defender steals it.
So I mean, how are you not down? It's mind blowing.
It is. It's absolutely mind blowing. And the whole season on the line. Bills could have won a Super Bowl this year if that call was different. Sean McDermott would not have been fired if that call was different. Like all this on the line. And Sean McDermott was right in the press conference. What's the rush? All year long, we sit there and wait for reviews, and they go to commercial and come back, and we wait and see. And because the important thing is they got to get it right. This one, they were like, interception.
He had to literally run down the sideline and call a timeout just to buy more time.
Right.
Because that's how quick they were just going to run the Denver offense and go.
And then on top of that, you've got to throw the amount of money that's being bet on these games. Like, I bet the Bills. I lost because of that call. Like, how does the NFL expect anybody to take it seriously? But then again, maybe you don't have to. Just like the WWF, you know? Just as people are watching, it's exciting. Look at the pageantry and the violence of the game and these amazing, crazy endings. Look at like Caleb Williams last night throwing that pass like that. It's stupid.
Yeah.
That and we got to sit here now and take it, you know. And Sean McDermott loses his job.
Yeah. Well, non-catch in this case with Brandon Cooks. The
Interception.
Are
you talking about the?
Well, no. So two things pop up. I know. Recency. Like you look at last night, and that pops up with the Bears, right? But the immediate moment, and this is tough because for me, full disclosure to everybody, you guys knew this, but like I missed all the third quarter. I was in Philly over the weekend. I was able to watch all the first half. Third quarter, I was in transport down to the basketball arena down there. I watched all the fourth and overtime on my phone once I got inside. So I saw, obviously, the play. And the first thing that popped up to me when they showed, obviously, the zoomed-in slow-mo was Cooks' leg did an awful lot similar thing to what Trevor Lawrence's leg did in the wild card game,
where he was down before,
where he was
in the end
short.
zone.
Yes,
Yeah, I remember that play.
and I'm looking at that, and I get that one is a catch and one is a run. I'm not going to sit here and debate whatever, but you mean to tell me that the shin being down for one counts as for one, but not the other? And
Well,
that's where I struggle with a lot of stuff here.
There's still images of Brandon Cook with the ball secured and his knee and shin down, and the Denver receiver just starting to grab at the ball.
And another one, too. Think about the Carlton Davis interception yesterday on one of the many on C.J. Stroud. And I'm talking about the one in particular, though, where he's diving out of bounds.
Yeah.
Where at first glance I thought he just flew out of bounds, but they show the slow-mo sideline angle, and it's the same thing. He is dragging the knee, and then they talk about how, like, well, it's because he's twisting, and then so it has to. And I'm just, like, sitting there going, like, how, like, again, I sit here and wonder, as somebody who lived through, did Des catch it and everything with that?
Yeah. No,
What the hell is a catch? You know.
One quick thing, let me cut in. So the Bills just made it official, but on top of that, they officially promoted Brandon Beane to president of football operations as well.
Promoted?
So he's now the GM and the president of football operations. So basically, they gave him
full power.
Keys to the kingdom.
Yep.
So he's then going to choose the new head coach.
Yep. Everything now, he's running everything now. It's mind blowing how he just gets away with what he's been doing the last couple of seasons. And that's Terry Pagula making that move.
So is it safe to assume that like Brandon Beane is not a fan of Sean McDermott? I thought they had a decent working relationship, but if that was the case and you're willing to turn this over to Beane, then you would have asked him at some point, like, what do you think about our coach?
I will say there's one little thing that stuck out that someone brought up back in April. Brandon Beane said this was a championship caliber roster, whatever, and, remember the big rant that we talked about a few weeks ago that they don't need a number one wide receiver. Well, they asked Sean McDermott that at a press conference back later, and he kind of dodged the question, didn't really say that they were championship caliber. And so basically what I'm getting at is I do believe there was times where they weren't on the same page. They didn't agree with the roster decisions. Here's another example. Remember when they claimed Darius Slay off waivers and he refused to report?
Right.
Well, they had to release someone at the time because they didn't know he wasn't going to report. and they waived one of their depth corners, Jamarcus Ingram, who has been around forever. And you could tell when Sean McDermott did his press conference that he was not happy with the move, almost like a shot at Brandon Beane. So I don't know. Maybe there was just miscommunication. They didn't like some of the moves, whatever. So maybe there is something there. That's basically what I'm getting at.
I don't want to apples to oranges comparison, but this kind of screams, and I mean, Jim, you might be a little bit better suited for this if I'm really off base, but this guy screams like the end of the Bulls in a way with Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson against Jim with Gar and everything. You know what I mean? Like,
I think every relationship inside organizations can run its course, whether they're both good, where nobody really is doing a bad job. It's just that you need to change something. And I don't feel like this is that type of case here. I just don't. I just feel like it's almost the thing where, okay, I mean, you can argue that the Bills have had some really rough luck, especially in terms of officiating, in the playoffs, especially in terms of, not being able to stop Mahomes a couple of years ago with they left him how much, 28 seconds or whatever it was. And I just feel like that type of stuff makes you stronger, and it gets a chip on your shoulder, and you come back harder. And every year McDermott comes back harder than before. And now it's, he's never going to have that chance for vindication, and it's upsetting. And if he didn't get fired, we could have come in here, and I might have pointed out a couple things about McDermott, the way he handled the game yesterday that I didn't love, but I never for a second thought that he should be fired.
Yeah. I'm kind of with the overall synopsis here. It's just I don't get. It's the timing of it. The timing of it just makes no sense. So,
I mean, I guess you want to, as soon as you can, find your new guy, but it's just unnecessary. I mean, does the Bills fan base as a whole, were they clamoring for a change? I mean, I don't think so.
I've been on Twitter all morning. Everyone's mad.
Yeah.
They think Beane is the guy that should have gone. There's already 400 comments on the press release in 5 minutes of fans saying, wrong guy, wrong guy.
Typical Buffalo sports procedure, I guess. Typical, just typical, where the like you say, most of the fan base feels one way, and they're moving in a different direction. And I'm telling you, Josh Allen or not, heading into next year, they could take a huge step back, miss the playoffs for the first time in 9 years.
Yeah, and I was going to get up here at some point and say, like, the way I feel now is just like, okay, well, this is like Beane's last, like, save face thing, but, like, the fact that he's been promoted, it's clearly the opposite. So I don't know. I don't. Look, I'm with you, Jim. I think the way my initial plan at 9 a.m. this morning when I came in here was we were going to be talking about a lot of completely different stuff than we are talking about now.
Right.
And now I feel like we have questions that we can't answer now for who knows how long, essentially. I don't know. I don't know. Go back to the game for a second. Is there anything else that sticks out at this point? Because, like, now it's just been overshadowed. Like,
Right.
So
It is overshadowed, but I do have a lot of thoughts. I want to see what you guys think. Were you surprised at how, even though they had the turnovers, how easy the Bills are moving the ball on that Denver defense?
Yeah.
They had 449 yards, 183 rushing yards, 28 first downs. How about this? Third down conversions, 10 for 15.
I was surprised, and I felt very confident that they were going to win. Watching that, and then you watch Denver struggle to move the ball,
especially rushing.
Denver's points came off two long passes that were against the backup cornerbacks after the starters had to step out. Tre'Davious White had to go to the medical tent. Lewis got injured.
Yep.
And the very next play comes the backups, and they hit him long. Now, that's something that I could put on McDermott. Like, you got to expect that. Maybe they're going to pick on the new guy. When's the last time Dane Jackson or Darnell Savage have been on the field for a play?
just that Week 18 meaningless game against the Jets.
And now, so yeah, Sean Payton's going to be like, oh, look at this, let's take our shot now. And the fact that the Bills weren't ready for that, and Denver got 14 points off of those 2 plays, it's kind of hard to take for sure.
And I'll go after Sean McDermott a little bit here because it is deserved in this part. The reason why they were shorthanded too is Maxwell Harrison was out with an injury, and McDermott's at fault because he had him in the game and it was 35-0 in Week 18 against the Jets, and he got injured.
Yeah, that's right.
And he said after the game that he basically just had no one else to put. But someone brought up a good point a few years ago when it was a meaningless game and they needed to put backups in. They just use a wide receiver as a
Yeah,
corner.
who cares?
Yeah. So that actually loomed kind of big here, especially that passing defense. Maxwell Harrison, he is a rookie and he's young.
But he's looked great when he's been healthy.
Yeah, so that was a big miss there. And then Darius Slay never reporting. Imagine if they had him in this game. I will say, too, so you mentioned how the defense did a really good job after turning the ball over, basically. And how about this? 5 turnovers. They only had 16 points off the turnovers. Out of 35 possible points, they had 16. Credit to the defense for even keeping them in the game and having a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's again, I can't say enough that second half. I'm like, the Bills are going to win this game for sure. And then, like, you can't make this shit up. Bo Nix breaks his ankle. He's out for the season. So now the Broncos will host, at least they're at home, but
no rushing game either. They really are not that good running the ball. You can look at their numbers, too, throughout the year. R.J. Harvey is good. He's a rookie. He's young.
Yeah.
But they had 70 total rushing yards in this game.
Yeah, like Jaleel McLaughlin got some of them. I mean, and I wasn't impressed with New England that much watching that game either.
No, they're both wins this postseason. I think have been defense. Like their defense is actually winning them games now. Their pass rush.
If the Bill, I firmly believe if Brandon Cook's catch is good and Prater kicks a field goal, that we're on to New England and we win that game and we go to the Super Bowl. And that's the most frustrating part because the officials can't get a play right, or the NFL can't clearly define what a catch is, or whatever it is that caused that to happen. We all saw it. It looked like a catch. Because of that, New England's going to go to another Super Bowl, maybe win it, and the Bills are going to be home again, and Sean McDermott gets fired, and it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, if you're a Bills fan, what are you doing every Sunday, getting up for these games and devoting so much time only to have it just snatched away from you like that when you were clearly the better team during the game? Like, and then after that, just the 2 pass interference calls going the other way, it's just like, it felt like Bills fans were just getting freaking raped.
How about the Broncos, too, on the first 2 drives? They fumbled on each drive, and the Bills did recover the first time, but then Larry Ogunjobi had the offside penalty, which another horrible signing by Brandon Beane. The guy's been inactive for most of the year, suspended, actually, too, to start the year.
Huge penalty.
Yeah, huge penalty. The second was a Bo Nix fumble. They couldn't. He recovered it and was able to throw it away. But yeah, so as bad as
Bills
catch and the penalties and stuff, they had so many opportunities in this game. I mean, giving up 10 points before halftime in 22 seconds was a killer.
Yeah.
Let's see, did I write anything else? Oh yeah, Deion Walker had an interception. The Bills got the ball at the Denver 36-yard line. Josh Allen tried to force the ball to Cooks, and it was intercepted on the second.
Right after, yeah.
How about this? 1st and 10 at the Denver 14-yard line with 5 minutes to go in the game. Remember, they were up 24-23. Another first down handoff to Cook. I didn't like the Joe Brady predictable handoffs.
No, I didn't want him to go away from Cook, but does it have to be up the middle on first down?
Every time. 0 yards. Next play, Samuel, 2-yard gain.
Yeah.
Third and 8, bounce pass to Shakir. They have to settle for a field goal.
Yep.
That was a huge missed opportunity in the game. You could have won up 31-23. And then some people are even saying,
well, that was it.
2.
Yeah, that was it.
Totally in the game.
That was when I felt like Bills are going to score a touchdown here, and the game's going to be out of reach, especially the way the defense is playing, and they're going to amazingly head on to the AFC Championship game. It's going to be freaking great. People are going to be going crazy all week around here. But it didn't happen, and we haven't talked about the holding in the end zone that wasn't called against the Bills that would have ended the game.
Yep.
which if you watch the replay of that, I mean, the guy's freaking holding him from behind, from preventing him from getting to Allen. So that the bad calls went both ways. But, is it time to start doing instant replay on holding calls and on everything? Because you're either going to get it right or you're not, or you're going to make horrible mistakes.
Right, and then you walk the fine line there, and I know I don't think we want to really fully devolve. I say this as somebody who played line in high school, albeit not good. The holding thing to me, you could call on every single play if you really wanted to. It's a matter of, as I say, of like egregiousness of like whatever.
Well, then define it.
Yeah. Right, but that's what I'm saying. So that's where I feel like you bring up the question of like, do you want to go the instant replay route with them? Like, I don't know if you really want to do that, but look, I don't know. That's where I do agree in the sense of like the crew did not do a good job in this game on either side.
All
Like,
weekend,
call
the games.
Call a spade a spade.
All
right?
the games were highlighted by bad officiating, I thought.
Yeah.
And not only the officials on the field, but the officials in New York watching the replays.
Yeah.
And here's where we can take a little shot at the Bills' defense. On that final drive, when it was 27-23 Bills, they gave up a 3rd and 11 to the Broncos, and a 3rd and 4.
Yeah.
Allowed them to convert on each drive there, or each shot down, 3rd down there. And then on the final drive, this is the famous overthrow that you mentioned off air. Josh Allen overthrew Dawson Knox. He at least gets to inside the 3-yard line, 2-1.
Yeah, and then you push him in. Then you push him in, and there was No,
they had so many chances.
Granted, Allen had pressure from behind. It wasn't like he sat back there and was able to fire it, but he overthrew him, and it was a big miss. In retrospect, it was huge.
This is why, as bad as that should have been a catch and all that, this is why I'm not as mad, because I have a whole list of things I wrote down of where the Bills could have done better or stuff could have changed, and the fact that they could have still won this game despite 5 turnovers and a -4 turnover differential actually is a shot at the Broncos. I mean,
yeah, so good for the Patriots, right? The New England Patriots. Like, I don't understand how Bills fans are going to watch the rest of the season as long as New England's alive. It's ridiculous that this has happened, that you've been the Patriots bitch for all those Tom Brady years, and now when you got the guy in Josh Allen, he might not be the guy anymore because it's Drake May.
And imagine if the Texans didn't waste their historic defense and had any other quarterback yesterday.
At least in the moment, yeah.
Stroud was so bad the past 2 weeks.
And it was only a game because of the Texans' defense. How many times did they hold them to a field goal or bail them out?
It wasn't like Drake May lit it up last night by any means.
I think the Bills
he fumbled a bunch.
Win. If the Bills are playing in New England next Sunday, the Bills win. I would have felt as confident about that as anything.
Yeah.
But it's not happening.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of reasons you can look at the Bills that they could have won the game despite the calls. But on the other hand, when it's contrasted so clearly, the Cooks play where it ends up being an interception, immediately followed by 2 pass interference calls that move the ball literally 60 yards down the field and into field goal range to end the game. I mean, it's really hard to take.
The official number is 56 penalty yards on that final drive.
And how many penalty yards did the Bills have before that? Not many.
I don't have the yardage, but I know they only had 3 penalties through
the entire game until overtime.
And you mentioned they could have called the holding on the Bills. There probably was other ones that we didn't really see.
Right.
Same for Denver. There was probably other ones that they could have been called. But see what we're talking about here? Why would you call that in the biggest of moments if you're not going to call more penalties throughout the game?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's you would think that the NFL, like people say it's fixed or it's scripted, you would think the NFL would want this Buffalo Bills team to advance because they're pretty well liked across the league and exciting to watch.
To that end, it's not like they'd probably want Sean Payton anywhere near anything anyway.
Right.
So.
And look what Buffalo's been through. I think the NFL would have loved to have the Bills too, especially the ratings, Josh Allen. So the scripted stuff, I mean, I don't even read it. Just keep scrolling.
I don't believe in that, but that's what I'm saying is okay, like the officials just ruined it. in my opinion, one way or the other. Nobody wants to see a game like that end that way with like literally 4 or 5 consecutive missed calls.
And I think an issue too, not that it's here nor there, because every league kind of does it this way, quote unquote, even though I don't know. The NBA and NHL are a little bit different because you're not working with the same crew necessarily every game anyway. But, I don't understand why you don't keep the crews intact for the playoffs in the NFL. You're pulling the best from each crew and playing them. And you want to talk about, go back to the chemistry thing.
Yeah, they should be.
I think there's a very real thing about these crews. You work all
games
season
get
together.
bigger,
And
let the guys that are comfortable stay together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So
I just, I don't know. It's just, it ruined the weekend. It ruined the rest of the NFL season for me, and I'm not even a Bills fan.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say that. I'm a Bills fan, obviously. I'm rooting for them to win, but I'm not like die hard. I'm just not die hard.
So if you had a pick right now, who would be your next coach? Or let me rephrase that. Who do you think the Brandon Beane is going to go with for the next coach?
If it was me, I'd go with Fran Brown.
no, I can't do that again. No. I finally
Doug Marrone. Bring
I
Doug
finally
Marrone.
was able to forgive the Bills at the end of last year for taking Doug Marrone away from me.
Now bringing Doug Marrone back to the Bills. I don't even know. I don't even know because
I think they're just going to promote Joe Brady. I'm serious.
that's disgusting.
Yeah, to me that's malpractice.
And if not him, it's Brian Dable. I don't think there's any other scenario out there that they do.
Brian Dable would just be the most shocking, like mind-blowing, disgusting, depressing. Like you saw what he did with the Giants this year.
Right.
How many games did the Giants win before he got fired?
And what was it? 5 blown 10-point leads or more?
Including Denver, 30 points in the fourth quarter.
33.
Yeah.
I don't know. To
Dable,
me,
really.
I agree with the sentiment. I don't know if it's the most depressing though. I can name a couple guys who would be more depressing, but
I'm going to be honest. I would not want Mike Tomlin. I know you said you would. Because I don't like the way he operates. He's so like
the standard is the standard.
He might be one of the best available right now, though, in terms of I don't know. I think that Bills. Well, I guess I don't really want Tomlin either. It just seems like he would be a pretty good candidate. But you know who I would, if I could get anybody right now, I'd get Kirk Signetti.
He's already downplayed and he doesn't want any NFL.
Well, wait till the season ends and everybody changes their mind. I mean, they just Google him.
Saban?
Saban's too old.
No.
I don't want an old guy. Those hardly ever work out.
Yeah.
So not Bill Belichick?
No, definitely not Belichick. Jesus, and his girlfriend would come with him.
Yeah, no.
Can you imagine?
I'd rather have Marv Levy than Belichick.
Yeah, bring back Marv Levy.
Yeah.
No, Marcus Freeman.
From Notre Dame?
But I don't hate Freeman. He's young enough that I think it would be whatever. If I'm the Bills, I think you gotta get Clint Kubiak at this point.
I don't know. I think the best guy for the job, the best candidate right now that's available is Sean McDermott.
I don't disagree with that.
So that's another question. He said this morning apparently that he still is going to coach. He told people that. So I'm saying he's going to go to Miami now and coach the Dolphins. What do you think?
I see
There's
that.
a lot of openings still.
Yeah.
I think he probably spends a season or two as coordinator somewhere, defensive coordinator probably before he gets back to head coaching. But who knows? Like the season's still underway.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows who they're going to hire? If they do upgrade from within with Brady, man, that's going to be tough to get behind.
I just don't see, like I said, it's malpractice to me if they go from within. Whether, and I'd be saying this too in the hypothetical if it was Bobby Babich. I think it would be malpractice if you went from within at this point, So, I don't know.
I told Paul this off air, so I want to get your thoughts. It's kind of funny, but it's not really funny. Someone says, what if he goes to Baltimore and wins a Super Bowl with Lamar? Like, how bad is that going to feel for everyone in Buffalo?
Well, they've all thanks to the way that they've done this, those are all possibilities. Where instead it could have just been look, we got a good thing going. We're gonna get better, and this next year is gonna be our year. Hopefully, I'm gonna convince Brandon Bean to get me a little better roster, and we're gonna go for it, and we're gonna continue, and everybody's behind Josh Allen. Guys were crying yesterday, not because they lost, but because like Josh Allen felt so bad, like it was his fault. Josh Allen took responsibility for the loss, and then you saw guys like Deion Dawkins hearing that Allen said that, and tears came to his eye. They totally, the culture around the Buffalo Bills, internally is the best in the NFL, and you're gonna fire your head coach.
And just remember, they wouldn't have gotten to this game without Josh Allen. So as bad as he was in this
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
they aren't getting there without him. So
It's Brandon Bean's fault that Josh Allen has to do this kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
One of the worst talent evaluators, in history. I mean, I guess it was a hit on Cook, James Cook. And some of the defensive players are hits, and the offensive line's been good. But
Even then, though, some of that defense was actually McDermott. McDermott ran the draft the one year because they didn't have the GM yet in place. So
yeah, I mean, McDermott's got a feel. I wonder if he just hates Brandon Bean right now.
that's why I made the comparison to Phil Jackson and Jordan to Krause there at the end. This just kind of feels like I think a guy on a power trip right now for whatever reason, and
Bean or Pegula?
porque no los dos. Because Reinsdorf was on the side of Krause.
Yeah.
Remember? So, I don't know, man. It's tough. Like I said, for me, it's tough because people would probably label me as a McDermott hater, but for the way everything played out this year, I don't see how you can do the blame on McDermott. I don't get it.
I think McDermott has improved through his tenure at Buffalo. Like he's learned from mistakes, and he's, but again, there's so much that goes into an NFL football team, and the head coach is obviously among the most important cogs in the organization. But what the Bills have right now, and have had for the past couple of years, even though they haven't broken through yet, is different and special, I think, than what you'll see in most NFL locker rooms and fan bases. And now it's going to be something different next year. Mm-hmm. And when you make it something different, I think when you've had as much success as the Bills have had, there's more of a chance of it being different in a bad way than a better way.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that. So, all right. I think we'll get out of here on that note at this point. So, some housekeeping stuff here involving the podcast. Obviously, it won't be weekly by any means here. The plan, however, is once the Bills do have a new head coach, we'll have a podcast. We'll
Special
break that
edition.
down. Special edition, breaking news, blah, blah, blah. So whenever that happens, that will happen. Obviously, if it's on a weekend, it might be a little bit different. We might be here on a Monday morning like we are today involving that.
And then we're off for
the
draft.
And then we'll be off until the draft. We'll probably do the pre and post like we have done the past couple of years with that. Sporadic ones here and there if there's news big enough. Who knows? But more than likely doubtful on that front as it stands right now. But so we'll be off until really, hopefully, in an ideal world, I would say probably a week or so, because I would imagine they probably want to get this done sooner.
We'll name a coach before Sunday. Do you think?
I don't think so. Only because I think some of the guys they probably maybe want to interview are coaching still in the playoffs, coordinator-wise. So we'll see. But I don't know.
You're going to get a coordinator from another team and make him the Bills head coach? Yeah. It better be a good one. Mm-hmm. It better be one that we're like, wow, I kind of like it. Because it's, and I don't know how many names are out there that could make me feel better about this.
Yeah. Well,
I was really excited.
Yeah.
Watching the game this weekend to come back in here Monday and preview that AFC Championship game and thinking until that last pass interference call, I really felt like these Bills could win the Super Bowl this year. Mm-hmm. But it's over now. And
not even 48 hours later. Look at all the stuff that just happened.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep.
And who knows what else might kind of happen in succession here following everything anyway. So remains to be seen, and we'll probably talk more about that whenever we reconvene when the head coach is hired here on Bills Weekly. So, yeah,
Rough.
I think that's that at that point. So appreciate you guys here. Obviously, this is what year 3, year 4 of the podcast. I lost count.
3 or 4.
Either way,
We used to talk a little bit on another podcast about the Bills, but we started to make it a weekly thing, and I think it's been great. It's been fairly popular in terms of viewership. So thanks everybody that tunes in and watches the show. I hope that we're part of. Every NFL fan has a weekly thing. You get ready for the game, you listen to certain shows during the week, then you watch the game, and then you listen to a few things. And so those that choose to watch us or listen to us after the games each week on Mondays, we're glad to be part of your week, and we'll be back next year, whatever that's going to look like.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like you said, Jim, really appreciate everybody. This has been. Even for the podcast itself, the most successful year we've had in terms of all of that. So really appreciate everybody for making us a part of your, whether it be Monday or Tuesday mornings or at some point during the week. We really appreciate it across both YouTube and Spotify and all that fun stuff. So, hey, like I said, we're not sure when we'll exactly be back fully, but we will be back whenever they do make that hire. We'll break it down and take a look at that point, who might be on the coaching staff period and all that type of fun stuff involving that. So we look forward to whenever that part of it is. And like we said, we really do appreciate everybody for tuning in and listening throughout the year and engaging. It's been great talking with everybody and stuff like that. So guys, we'll reconvene at another time for Bills Weekly, but until then, we'll step aside. Bills Weekly, you can find it here on FingerLakes1.com, the FL1 YouTube channel, and all major podcasting platforms. We appreciate everybody for listening and tuning in. And as always, let's go Buffalo.